Welcome parents and students. Today I'm going to be talking about how to prepare for VCE biology. First of all, you're going to want to work out whether this course is actually something that you're interested in. Because if you're interested in, then it will be so much easier for you to apply yourself in your learning. Up here, I've got a little bit of a summary of the points that we go over in units 3 and 4. We'll look at a lot of very small things that might help you more in the medical field. Then we move into more things that are very relevant to our lives today at the moment. And we'll put this in the context of the new technology that we have access to. So we'll be looking at different types of cancer treatments, how we can develop genetically engineered bacteria to make human proteins, all kinds of amazing things. And then lastly, we get into some more of the evolutionary side of things. And then finally across this, there's the practical knowledge, which applies throughout physics, chemistry, and biology. So learning how to apply the scientific method, which will carry you all the way through university. All right, so what are the assessment requirements? Because that is a big part of undertaking a VCE subject. And for biology, it's broken down 3 ways. First of all, worth 50% is your end of year exam. Then the other component is the Unit 3 and Unit 4 SACs. And these have actually increased in importance in the new study design. So they used to be worth 40% combined, now they're worth 50% combined. And there's a lot more variety in the types of assessments that there could be. So what should I know before undertaking biology 3, 4? This subject is very, very content heavy, particularly Unit 3. It's a big jump if you go from, say, Unit 10 science straight into Unit 3, 4. So definitely a solid background scientific understanding helps. Some of the key topics that I really recommend brushing up on before you jump into it are 1, photosynthesis, 2, the organelles, 3, and this is a big one, the scientific method. And definitely this is the one that I think is really worth paying the most attention to. There's another component to biology, which is how you can apply that knowledge. And in order to be able to apply your knowledge successfully, you really need to be able to ground it in a strong understanding of the scientific method, because this will underpin the scientific poster sac. It will come into play in the analysis style sacs as well. And it's also a big component of the end of year exam. And then lastly, genes and DNA. You don't have to know all the ins and outs, but certainly if you can be across the basics, that will set you up really, really well, so that it's not a big panic at the start of the year. So definitely the more you can learn beforehand, the better. Over here, I've just got a slide about some of the different types of resources that I recommend for biology. The first one is the study design. It can just be found online on the VCE website. So this includes things like the exam reports, FAQ documents, and so on and so forth. Next of all, I've got this little image here to represent videos. The thing with biology is that we're dealing with things that are moving, particularly when we get to things like photosynthesis or movement of things across membranes, is really making use of video resources or animations, and it really helps solidify your understanding. And then lastly, on the right here, I've got this little textbook. What I really like about these types of little books is that they are condensed. And if you don't want to purchase these books, it's even almost better, in fact, if you can make your own. So making use of summaries is going to give you a huge advantage. So because there's so much content with biology, you will definitely need to be taking notes at some stage. So over here, I've just got an image of what my notes look like when I was going through Year 12. And then over here, I've just got a summary of my condensed notes. So this was in addition to my summary notes. So on the right, they're just little summaries of key processes that I had to learn in biology. And then on the left here, this is what I did whenever I got a question wrong in an end of year exam. So right before the end of the exam, this was the last thing that I was looking at in the last couple of days, going over questions that I hadn't got quite right or hadn't gone into enough depth with. How do you manage your time? You do need to be able to prioritize your time because lots of things are important at the same time. Here I've got a little chart of do's and don'ts that help me get through. So then in the lead up to the exam, here are some things that I found really helpful. 1, I did all of my practice exams timed. In terms of the number of practice exams you should be doing, it does vary from student to student. For biology, I would say aim for 20 plus or minus 5, depending on how you're going. If you're really struggling with exam style questions, do 25. If you find them easy, do 15. Next, talk to your peers. Make sure that you're not keeping knowledge to yourself. Explaining things to other people is really good practice of being able to articulate things and formulate answers. Lastly, make use of your teacher or tutor. Make times to go over things that you don't understand. Definitely don't leave any questions hanging in the air. Then in the exam, feel free to be using things like dot points. You can also make use of flowcharts and diagrams as well. Even though they give you lines, it doesn't mean you have to write paragraphs. Underline keywords for things like define, explain, and so on. Plan out your time. And then lastly, make sure that you read every option for multiple choice. Even if you spot one that you think sounds right straight away, it may not be, so keep on reading ahead. Reading time is one last thing. This is a really great resource. It gives you time to look at the marking scheme. You can make notes of parts that might be tricky, so you can plan your time. And you can get familiar with the paper ahead of time, so then you're less likely to make silly mistakes. Just some last tips before I let you all go. So don't worry about SAC grades too much. Make sure to keep your life balanced, ask lots of questions, and last of all, don't overcomplicate your response in a SAC. Keep it nice and simple and concise rather than wordy. Biology is all about simplicity rather than writing paragraphs. So if you can do all of those things, I'm sure that you'll have a fabulous time in your biology course.